in the back room of the Gilded Cage Saloon, where the air smelled of cheap sulfur and expensive perfume. I was down to my last silver dollar, sweat freezing on my brow. He smiled a shark-toothed smile and said, "We're playing for eternity now." He didn't want my money when I laid my aces down. He offered me a trade that's become the talk of this whole town. He pulled it from his velvet vest, heavy and cold as ice. Said, "This here will keep your time, boy, for a very special price." Oh, it ain't got no numbers on the polished porcelain face, just a single jagged black hand moving at terrifying pace. It don't tick-tock like the grandfather clock out in the hall. It sounds like a hammer hitting a coffin nail, and that ain't all. It runs backward through the years, winding down my breath, a mechanical countdown to a guaranteed death. Keep it close to your heart, son, don't let it stop, listening to the rhythm of the devil's pocket watch. 7 years I rode high, I couldn't lose a single hand. I became the richest, saddest soul in this God-forsaken land. I bought a mansion on a hill with iron bars on the gate, trying to lock out the inevitable arrival of fate. But I couldn't sleep at night for the grinding of the gears, that metallic heartbeat amplifying all my darkest fears. I tried to throw it in the river, I tried to smash it with a stone, but every morning I woke up and it was back on my nightstand throne. Yeah, it ain't got no numbers on the polished porcelain face, just a single jagged black hand moving a terrifying pace. It don't tick-tock like the grandfather clock out in the hall. It sounds like a hammer hitting a coffin nail, and that ain't all. It runs backward through the years, winding down my breath, a mechanical countdown to a guaranteed death. Keep it close to your heart, son, don't let it stop, listening to the rhythm of the devil's pocket watch. The mainspring is getting tight now, I can feel the tension build. The contract is nearly fully billed. It's vibrating against my ribs, shaking the bone apart, syncing up perfectly with my failing, terrified heart. It's getting hot to the touch, like it came straight from the fire. The timekeeper is coming to collect his hire. Shadows are getting long, I know I won't be around to hear the morning bird song. The hand is almost vertical, pointing straight up to the sky, or maybe down to the pit where the worm does not die. There's a knocking at the front door, 3 sharp raps. When it's winding down, it's almost done. Tick, 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 tick. Shroud of cypress gray, the shovel bites the frost along the right of way. I'm carrying a burden wrapped in a burlap sack. It ain't heavy, but it's nearly broke my back. We're 10 yards outside the consecrated iron fence, where the briars are thick and the shadows are dense. This is the ground where the church bell never rings, where the nightjar is the only choir that sings. So sing a low, slow dirge for the unbaptized child, for the little lost lamb out in the bitter wild. The gates of pearl are bolted tight and fast against a soul that didn't last. There's no holy water sprinkled on the brow, just the cold damper holding you now. A whisper in the wind is the only mournful sound for the innocent sleeping in cursed ground. I knocked upon the rectory door at 3 a.m., begging for a crumb of mercy from one of them. The reverend stood there in his warm woolen robe, looking down at me like I was Job. He asked me, was the water poured where the word said? I told him, preacher, the fever took him straight to dead. He shook his head and pointed toward the muddy creek, said, heaven has no harbor for the unsaved weak. So sing a low, slow dirge for the unbaptized child, for the little lost lamb out in the bitter wild. The gates of pearl are bolted tight and fast against a soul that didn't last. There's no holy water sprinkled on the brow, just the cold damp earth holding you now. A whisper in the wind is the only mournful sound for the innocent sleeping in cursed ground. They talk about original sin and a stain so deep on a creature that only knew how to cry and sleep. It's a cruel doctrine written by fearful men. If that's the kind of God that rules the sky above, then I don't want his kingdom and I don't want his love. I'll take my chances down here in the mud. I lay the little pine box in the shallow hole, a final resting place for a wandering soul. I don't have a headstone, just a smooth river rock to mark the end of the short ticking clock. The fog is rolling in to cover up the deed, planting a sorrowful forgotten seed. Go to sleep now, little one, don't you fear the dark. Even if you miss, no one's saving up. Sleep now outside the gate. It's cold and it's late. Sing a low, slow dirt. The asphalt gives up where the county line begins. Hurrying in a rotted clay and the wages of sin. The cypress trees here are twisted and bent low, pointing down towards a place where the forgotten go. The fence is rusted barbed wire, sagging slack. It ain't there to keep things in, it's to keep the living back. The only sound is the buzzing of the carrion fly under a bruised and indifferent southern sky. Oh, there ain't no marble angels weeping here, just weathered wooden stakes that quickly disappear. There ain't no epitaphs carved with love and care, just a number stamped on brass for the souls laid bare. It's the final zip code for the lost and the unbound. The potter's field on the edge of town. We got a drifter found frozen by the railroad tracks with nothing but a harmonica in his canvas sack. We got a scarlet woman from down on Whiskey Road. She drank the rat poison slow just to watch the show. We got a boy who couldn't handle what his daddy did. They all fit inside the same cheap pine box lid. They arrive in the back of the coroner's black van, delivery accepted by the digging man. Yeah, there ain't no marble angels weeping here, just weathered wooden stakes that quickly disappear. There ain't no epitaphs carved with love and care, just a number stamped on brass for the souls laid bare. It's the final zip code for the lost and the unbound. The potter's field on the edge of town. He won't cross this holy line. He says it's dirty, soaked in turpentine and cheap red wine. He saves his expensive prayers for the paying clientele. Figures the folks out here are already halfway down to hell. Already halfway down to hell. On my shovel and wipe the sweat away. Got another shallow hole to finish up today. They pay me $50 for every grave I close, to plant another seed that never grows. I don't ask their names, I don't wanna know their face. I just provide the final narrow resting place. Someday soon, when my own luck runs dry, I reckon this exactly where I'm gonna lie. No flowers, no tears, just the accumulating years. Row after row, mound after mound in the potter's field on the edge of town. The late frost finally lifted off the red playground. I took the rusted wheelbarrow and I made my rounds down to the nursery at the edge of town. Bought 20 saplings with a pink and white crown. Mountain laurel, count me a little, falling you the tag red. Best suit in fall shade and a well-drained bed. My neighbor, Mrs. Gable, waved as she drove by. Said it's nice to see you trying to beautify. I just tipped my hat and gave a little smile, knowing I'd be digging for a good long while. Oh, the blooms are sweet when the springtime comes, hiding the rhythm of the silent drum. The roots go deep in this dark rich soil, feeding on a lifetime of trouble and toil. It's a landscaping project, a cosmetic disguise, to pull the wool over the sheriff's eyes. Yeah, I'm planting laurels in a neat little row, right exactly where the bodies go. That big bush on the left by the old oak stump, that's where my brother landed with a heavy thump. He always had a mouth that he couldn't keep shut, till I introduced him to the shovel butt. The smaller ones in the middle, near the garden gate, that's a couple of creditors who arrived too late. They wanted their silver, they wanted their pound of flesh. Now they're just helping the foliage look fresh. Oh, the blooms are sweet when the springtime comes, hiding the rhythm of the silent drums. The roots go deep in this dark rich soil, feeding on a lifetime of trouble and toil. It's a landscaping project, a cosmetic disguise, to pull the wool over the sheriff's eyes. Yeah, I'm planting laurels in a neat little row, right exactly where the bodies go. They say that sweet smell can cover up the rot, and Lord knows I've buried quite a lot. These bushes grow faster than they really ought to be. The leaves are greener than natural, it seems to me. It's like they know the secret is buried underneath, drawing sustenance from the gnashing of the teeth. Now it's 5 years later, and the thicket is grand, the prettiest garden in this whole flat land. It's won a ribbon from the county fair. Nobody asks about what's hidden under there. I sit on the porch with iced tea in my hand, looking out over my cultivated land, watching the petals drift into the grass, waiting for my own final season to pass. Pretty pink flowers, pretty white lies, the best fertilizer that money can't buy. Just planting laurels, hiding the bones, faded out on the sound of birds chirping innocently. wash basin water is turning a rusty shade of red. The sun is coming up to shine upon the newly dead. I'm staring at my hands in the cold morning light, trying to piece together the fragments of the night. It started with a whiskey and a crooked card game, a shouted accusation and a sullied name. Then the table flipped over and the glass shattered loud, and I became the executioner for the watching crowd. Oh, it's the currency passing through this dusty town. One man stands up tall, another man goes down. It's the trade we make for the violent seeds we sow, the only bit of harvest that we really know. Yeah, the Saturday night sin brings the Sunday morning prices, black veils and bloody knuckles on the rolling dice. I dragged him out the back door of the Golden Spur. Everything after that is just a sickening blur. I found a shovel leaning against the stable wall and went to work answering the devil's call. The ground was hard-packed, dry and mean, the shallowest grave that I have ever seen. Every time the spade hit a limestone rock, I felt the skin split open and the knuckles shock. That's the currency passing through this dusty town. One man stands up tall, another man goes down. It's a trade we make for the violent seeds we sow, the only bit of harvest that we really know. Yeah, the Saturday night sin brings the Sunday morning prices, black veils and bloody knuckles on the rolling dice. The church bell is ringing out 6 a.m., calling out to the righteous and the condemned. I'm scrubbing with lye soap and river sand, trying to wash the murder off of my right hand. But the stain goes deeper than the dermis layer. It won't come out with water and it won't come out with prayer. Cloud rising on the county road. Here comes a wagon carrying the heavy load. She's sitting up front, dressed head to toe in creep, a somber silhouette with no avenue of escape. She's coming to claim what the violence left behind, while I'm peeking through the slats of the window blind. My hands are throbbing to the rhythm of her grief, a pain without a solitary moment of relief. She'll wear the black veil, I'll wear the scars. We're both prisoners behind different kinds of bars. Black veil and bloody knuckles that we really know. We buried the old man yesterday at noon, before the heat could make the parlor swoon. He didn't leave much in the way of cash, just a tin box full of burnt up ash, and 40 acres of stubborn rocky ground where nothing but brides and copperheads are found. The lawyer read the will in a monotone voice. Said, son, you don't really have much of a choice. So the soil out here is stubborn and red. It only grows thorns and stone. It's fed by the blood of the violent dead and fertilized with their bones. It ain't gold or silver that they hand down when they put them in the cold hard ground. It's a mark on the brow, it's a heavy crown of the inheritance of Cain County. I went up to the attic where the dust lies thick. The air up there would make a strong man sick. I found his old Winchester wrapped in an oily rag, hidden inside a rotten burlap bag. There were 7 notches carved into the wooden stock, each one a secret under key and lock. I ran my thumb across the jagged grain and felt a jolt of that familiar ancient pain. Yeah, the soil out here is stubborn and red. It only grows thorns and stone. It's fed by the blood of the violent dead and fertilized with their bones. It ain't gold or silver that they hand down when they put them in the cold hard ground. It's the mark on the brow, it's a heavy crown of the inheritance of Cain County. Drove up the long gravel drive today. He said he wants his half, come what may. He looked at me with those same pale blue eyes, full of jealousy and thin veiled laugh. I felt my hands start twitching at my side, where the family temper likes to hide. The history books say Abel was a good son, but history is written by the one holding the gun. Now I'm sitting on the porch watching the sun go down, the loneliest man in this God-forsaken town. The Winchester's cleaning up real nice. Every legacy comes with a heavy price. The cicadas are screaming in the dying light. It's gonna be a long and bloody no. The deed is done, the land is mine, the bloodline continues in a crooked line. Welcome to Cain County. sun is bleeding out behind the cypress trees. The iron gate is groaning in the evening breeze. I hear the steady rhythm of steel hitting clay. A man finishing the business of another day. He's standing chest deep in the fresh cut ground, not making a single unnecessary sound. His back has been crooked like an ancient root, mud caked thick on his heavy leather boot. It's cold work, lonely work down in the soil, a lifetime of shadows and back-breaking toil, where the secrets are buried and never found, in the silent suburbs of the underground. So I brought silver for the payment and glass for the toll, to warm up the edges of a frozen soul. Pour a little out for the ones who linger, and save the rest of the whiskey for the gravedigger. I ain't asking for a monument of marble stone, just a little bit of mercy for flesh and bone. The one going in there, she was awful dear to me, so don't just toss her in like driftwood on the sea. When you lower the box, friend, take it slow. It's the final kindness that she's ever gonna know. Don't let the first rocks hit the lid too hard. I'm paying you extra to be her final guard. Oh, it's cold work, lonely work down in the soil, a lifetime of shadows and back-breaking toil, where the secrets are buried and never found, in the silent suburbs of the underground. So I brought silver for the payment and glass for the toll, to warm up the edges of a frozen soul. Pour a little out for the ones who linger, and save the rest of the whiskey for the gravedigger. They say he's a ferryman for the folks on land, holding the last shovelful of sinking sand. He's seen the tears of the widow and the orphan's despair, and he buries them all without a single care. His hands are stained darker than tobacco juice, from tying eternity's final noose. He stops his digging now and leans upon the spade, wipes the sweat from the shadows that his hat brim made. He takes a bottle from me with a dirt-caked hand, a silent understanding in the silent land. He takes a long pull, looking me right in the eye, then nods once, toe, hands a darkening sky. He hands it back, not saying a single word. The spooky sermon that I heard. The deal is done, bottle is low, I turn my collar to the wind and go. Keep digging, friend, keep digging deep. Whiskey for the promises that you gotta keep.
Never owned a jacket that didn't have a tear, or a pair of boots that wasn't worn down to the air. My Sunday best was just a clean blue denim shirt, stained with engine grease and red dirt. The landlord's knocking and the bill collector's calling. I'm hiding in the kitchen, staring at the wall. Ain't got 2 nickels to rub together for a heat, living on tobacco, smoking bitterness sweet. But I'm finally gonna get me a brand new set of clothes, tailored by a man that everybody knows. It ain't made of Italian silk or English wool. It's cut from the timber down by the sawmill pool. It won't need iron, it won't need a press. It's the final solution to this earthly mess. Yeah, I'm getting fitted for a pine box suit, a permanent garment, root to boot. Old man Silas is the tailor in this town. He measures you up when the sun goes down. He don't use a tape, he just uses his eye, estimating the size of the man about to die. He's sanding down the rough edges of the planks, humming a hymn while he's sawing at the shanks. The lining is satin cheap and shining white to catch the last little bit of fading light. Oh, I'm finally gonna get me a brand new set of clothes, tailored by a man that everybody knows. It ain't made of Italian silk or English wool. It's cut from the timber down by the sawmill pool. It won't need iron, it won't need a press. It's the final solution to this earthly mess. Yeah, I'm getting fitted for a pine box suit, a permanent garment, root to boot. The preacher said, son, you can't take it with you, but he never mentioned what you get when you're through. A 6-foot closet with a lid piled high with stones, a solitary wardrobe for a pile of aching bones. It's a 1-button closure hammered in tight. Gather round, boys, and raise a glass of rye to the best-dressed man beneath the western sky. Don't shed no tears when they lower me down deep. I'm just finally getting some uninterrupted sleep. My creditors can knock upon the grave plot door, but I ain't answering to nobody no more. The fit is perfect, snug and tight, ready for the long and endless night, in my brand new pine box suit.
Drowned out here is hard and red like dried up blood. I ain't seen a drop of rain since Noah's flood. The preacher stands there in his cheap black suit, trying to plant a seed that won't ever take root. He's reading verses from a leather book, trying not to give me that final pitying look. Save your breath, parson, don't waste the Holy Ghost on a man who's already burned his final toast. They say 6 feet is a standard measure for burying a man and his earthly treasure, but I need a hole that goes a whole lot deeper to hide away from the grim reaper. The Gabriel horn on Judgment Day won't ever reach the place where I lay, so pile the rocks in the wrong direction. I'm too far down for resurrection. I started digging this pit 20 years ago with a bottle of rye and a heart made of snow. Every lie I told was another spade of dirt. Every promise broke was another world of hurt. I traded my ladder for a heavy stone and climbed down into the darkness all alone. The devil didn't push me, I went willingly to the only place where a wretch like me is free. Oh, they say 6 feet is a standard measure for burying a man and his earthly treasure, but I need a hole that goes a whole lot deeper to hide away from the grim reaper. The Gabriel horn on Judgment Day won't ever reach the place where I lay, so pile the rocks in the wrong direction. I'm too far down for resurrection. I looked up once and saw the roots of old oak trees tangled up above me like snakes in a freeze. They're waiting patiently to wrap around my bones, to claim me as one of their subterranean known. There ain't no light coming through that canopy. Just wait an eternity. First cloud hits the lid of the pine box. It sounds louder than a dozen ticking clocks. The light is fading fast into a pinpoint star. I never knew that heaven could seem so far. Go on home, boys, and drink to my demise. Wipe that crocodile tear from out of your eye. My name before the sun goes down on this hill. Too far, babe, too far down. The dirt is heavy. Too far down. It's cold. Resurrection.
Hangman's asleep beneath a cold silver moon. But you and I, friend, we're gonna meet soon. I can hear you down there, pacing in your cell, counting down the minutes to the final bell. I'm up here on the platform, checking the grease, ensuring your sudden and permanent peace. The rope is coiled neatly, 13 loops tight, prepared to deliver you into the night. Hush now, sinner, don't you fuss and cry. Listen to the hangman's lullaby. It ain't sung by mothers in rocking chairs. It's the sound of the wind blowing through the dead air. It's the creak of the hem on the sturdy oak beam, sending you off into the endless dream. Rockabye, baby, on the treetop. When the bough breaks, the cradle will drop. They call me a monster, they call me a ghoul, a heartless, cold-blooded government tool. But I see myself as a servant of rest for souls that are weary and sorely distressed. Life is a burden, a struggle, a fight. I'm just a man who turns out the light when the judge swings a gavel and signs the decree. He hands the poor bastard over to me. So hush now, sinner, don't you fuss and cry. Listen to the hangman's lullaby. It ain't sung by mothers in rocking chairs. It's the sound of the wind blowing through the dead air. It's the creak of the hem on the sturdy oak beam, sending you off into the endless dream. Rockabye, baby, on the treetop. When the bough breaks, the cradle will drop. The preacher is here with his leather-bound book, giving you that final pitying look. He talks about heaven and streets paved with gold, but his words sound hollow and terribly old. Put on the black hood, shut out the world's noise. It's time to put away your dangerous toys. Stand on the mark, boy, try to stand tall. Don't worry none about the sudden fall. It's quick and it's clean, a merciful snap, closing the distance across a great gap. I've got my hand on the lever right now. I wipe the cold sweat from off of your brow. Stomp, 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 sleep now. Ain't no more pain, ain't no more rain, just a swing, just a gentle swing. Stomp, stomp, swing.
The cellar door is bolted tight against the night. The only illumination is a kerosene light. The air down here is thick and still and cold. A basement full of stories that will never be told. I've got the porcelain table scrubbed down clean for the prettiest corpse that this county's ever seen. You're lying there so peaceful, pale and still. Well, I work up the nerve and the necessary will. It's formaldehyde and moonshine tonight. Two different ways to make things look alright. One is for the veins of the dearly departed, to finish up what the good Lord started. And one is for the throat of the living man, to steady the shaking of his working hand. Yeah, it's formaldehyde and moonshine blurring the boundary line. The mason jar is sweating on the metal tray, next to the tools that take the blood away. It's 100-proof courage, clear as glass, helping the long and lonely hours pass. I make the incision just above the collarbone, trying to ignore the feeling of being so alone. I replace what you lost with a chemical brew, and I take another pull of the Mountain Dew. Oh, it's formaldehyde and moonshine tonight. Two different ways to make things look alright. One is for the veins of the dearly departed, to finish up what the good Lord started. And one is for the throat of the living man, to steady the shaking of his working hand. Yeah, it's formaldehyde and moonshine blurring the boundary line. Preserved in our own special way. You for eternity and me just for today. You're freezing in time, looking perfect and grand, while I'm rotting my gut with the work of my hand. I wonder which one of us is truly dead. The thought is swimming round in my spinning head. Rooster is crowing up above the ground, but down here there ain't no living sound. I've dressed you in your Sunday silk and lace, put a touch of color back upon your face. The mortician's art is finally complete, and I can barely stand up on my own 2 feet. The jar is empty, work is through. I'll just sit here a while and keep watch over you. Formaldehyde and moonshine, formaldehyde and moonshine.
The rafters reach up like accusing bony fingers, where the smell of wet ash and old sulfur still lingers. The stained glass Jesus melted down into tears, washing away the hypocrisy of 50 long years. The
cold and different sky, and the buzzards are the only choir angels flying by. I'm standing in a pulpit that's charred black and weak, testing the floorboards every time that I speak. Oh, gather round, ye sinners, on the scorched earth, and hear the final sermon from a burned out church. The fire didn't care about your Sunday best suit, it just burned right down to the rotten bitter root. There ain't no salvation in timber and stone. When the smoke clears, friend, you're standing all alone. Yeah, when the smoke clears, you're standing all alone. It wasn't a lightning strike from a stormy cloud, it was the friction of the secrets of the proud. The deacon's backroom dealing and the widow's hidden gin built a perfect tinderbox for the original sin. We varnished the pews with decade for lies, while the termites were busy right before our very eyes. It just took one spark of truth to set the whole thing alight, turning the sanctuary into an everlasting night. So gather round, ye sinners, on the scorched earth, and hear the final sermon from a burned out church. The fire didn't care about your Sunday best suit, it just burned right down to the rotten bitter root. There ain't no salvation in timber and stone. When the smoke clears, friend, you're standing all alone. Yeah, when the smoke clears, you're standing all alone. Prayed for rain when the altar cloth caught fire, but the flames just climbed the steeple higher and higher. God was awful silent on that terrible night. Turns out the devil was the only one holding the light. He was the only one holding the light. Scattered to the four winds, running from the reckoning that the charcoal sends. But I'll stay right here in the ruin and the rust, preaching the gospel of ashes to ashes and dust to dust. The collection plate is melted into a silver lump, sitting next to the blackened Bible on the stump. Shadows, can I get a name from the ghosts? The sermon is over, go in peace if you can find it, if you can find it. I've sat in the parlors of the newly dead, with a crust of rye bread placed upon their head. I've tasted the salt of a lifetime of life, while the widow watches with hollowed out eyes. I've swallowed the greed of the banker man and the blood that dried on the sheriff's hand. I take it all down, I hold it inside, so the tattered black souls have a place to hide. It's a dirty trade, keeping heaven's gate unlatched for men whose good deeds never got matched. But the bread is getting stale and the salt won't sting it. I'm tired of the burden that the darkness is bringing. The old way is broken, the ritual is through tonight. I got a different kind of sacrament for you. It ain't bread and wine that's gonna set you free. It's 6 rounds for the sin eater from the armory. Yeah, 6 rounds of copper jacket lead to finally put the sins to bed. Clark lies there in his pine box tonight, a man who never did a single thing right. He beat his horses and he starved his kin. His soul is too gristle tough to even begin. You can't soak up that kind of evil with grain. You need something faster to stop the pain. I look at his face, gray like river clay, and I know the old magic ain't gonna work today. Oh, the bread is getting stale and the salt won't sting, and I'm tired of the burden that the darkness is bringing. The old way is broken, the ritual is through tonight. I've got a different kind of sacrament for you. It ain't bread and wine that's gonna set you free. It's 6 rounds for the sin eater from the armory. Yeah, 6 rounds of copper jacket lead to finally put the sins to bed. Click, 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 click. That's the sound of a modern absolution. Click, 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 click. The only reliable solution. I draw the cold navy from the holster at my side. It's time to take the sinner for his final ride. So I stand over the coffin and I don't bow my head. I aim right between the eyes of the stubborn dead. I won't eat your sins, I'm gonna blow them away. Turn the parlor night into a judgmental day. 1 for the anger, 2 for the pride, 3 for the secrets that you tried to hide, 4, 5, 6 into the velvet lining. Now I'm the only one left here shining. My belly is full, but my gun is empty. The job is done, ain't no one left to tempt me. 6 rounds. Senator. For the senator. Senator. Just a rumor through the canopy thick.
I'm piling this flat-bottom boat with a hickory stick. The air down here is heavy, humid and wet, smelling like rotting leaves and cold, nervous sweat. The water's blacker than a taxman's heart. This is where the civilized world falls apart. I got something heavy wrapped in a burlap sack. There ain't no turning around, there ain't no going back. Oh, the Spanish moss hangs like a widow's veil over secrets too dark for a jailhouse tale. The mud down here runs 20 feet deep, holding promises that the big gators keep. You can bury your sins where the cottonmouth glides, 'cause God only knows what the cypress swamp hides. Yeah, God only knows what the cypress swamp hides. Yeah, God only knows what the cypress swamp hides. Found a deep hole by a lightning-struck tree where the roots twist around like a dying man's knee. I tied an old engine block to the ankle bone, watched it sink down with a bubbling moan. The bullfrogs went silent for a minute or two, like they were judging the thing that I had to do. Then the crickets started up their sawzall sound, covering the spot where the truth went down. Oh, the Spanish moss hangs like a widow's veil over secrets too dark for a jailhouse tale. The mud down here runs 20 feet deep, holding promises that the big gators keep. You can bury your sins where the cottonmouth glides, 'cause God only knows what the cypress swamp hides. Yeah, God only knows what the cypress swamp hides. Yeah, God only knows what the cypress swamp hides. They say water is supposed to wash you clean, but this water is murky and slick and mean. It don't wash away, it just swallows it whole, and it taxes the tide on a living man's soul. Every time it rains and the water levels rise, I see the accusation in the heron's yellow eyes. Just watching the heat, trying to wash the bayou clay off of my feet. But the smell of the marsh is burned into my skin, a permanent reminder of the original sin. The sheriff comes by, asks if I've seen my friend. I just point towards the river where the dirt roads end. The mist is rising up, getting cold. The swamp keeps the stories that can never be told. What it hides, it keeps. The red clay dust is choking thick today, cold in the throat like things you can't unsay.
The sun is beating down like a judgment hammer, drowning out the nervous town folk stammer. We're walking west where the shadows stretch out long, towards the timber where the final birds belong. My wrists are chafed by iron, cold and tight, leading me toward the everlasting night. Oh, turn the page in the Gallows Road Hymnal, sing the verses for the lost and the criminal. It ain't written down in book, verse, or chapter. It's the rhythm of the boots walking toward the hereafter. The melody is the creaking of a fresh old rope, and the harmony is the dying breath of hope. Yeah, we're all just humming along to the Gallows Road song. The deacon stands on the edge of the crowd, reading scripture just a little bit too loud. He's got sweat on his lip and fear in his eye, watching another poor sinner prepare to die. They built the altar out of rough-hewn pine to offer up a soul that looks a lot like mine. They say vengeance is the Lord's, that's what they teach, but I see the sheriff's hand is well within reach. So turn the page in the Gallows Road Hymnal, sing the verses for the lost and the criminal. It ain't written down in book, verse, or chapter. It's the rhythm of the boots walking toward the hereafter. The melody is the creaking of a fresh old rope, and the harmony is the dying breath of hope. Yeah, we're all just humming along to the Gallows Road song. There ain't no choir of angels waiting up high, just a buzzard circling in a callous sky. I don't need your prayers, preacher, save your breath. I'm just looking for a little dignity in death. A single loud, distorted guitar chord rings out. A single loud, distorted guitar chord rings out. They put the black hood down over my head. The world goes dark before I'm even dead. I feel the rough hemp snug against the skin, a final payment for a lifetime of sin. The trapdoor beneath me is a gate to hell, and the silence right before the drop is the chapel bell. Sing it low, sing it slow, the final hymn that we all